So greetings to those who are online. Can we show some love for those who are online visiting with us? Hello, hello. Greetings. I heard we got a lot streaming, so we're excited about that. Gratitude and appreciation for each of you all joining. My name is DeAndre Fisher, and we say thank you on behalf of the entirety of the Division of Access, Community, and Opportunity. We greet you and we say hello. We also greet you on behalf, of course, of our chancellor, of our presidents, and our board of trustees, and all executive members. We greet you and say thank you for participating in today's Community Learning Conversation series to kick off our Social Justice Week. We make sure to salute and extend our deepest appreciation to our beloved colleagues. We could not be here without the dedication of our colleagues, of our students to become, and our commitment to become an anti-racist, anti-bias institution that centers leading with racial equity at its core. Most importantly, why we want to make sure that we continue this mission and vision and values is during these times, a lot of institutions are wavering away, and we're honored, and I want to just commend our leadership, our presidents and our chancellors to ensure that we stay committed to our mission, to our values, and to who we are. And let's give them a round of applause. I see Dr. Shantae, I see Dr. Monica. Thank you all for being here in presence with us. So to do this, we must commit to hold space for all voices, to support one another, articulate our differences, seek to understand with truth-telling, as we heard earlier from Dr. McKinney, without gaslighting one another, without hurting our communities, and making sure that we stay true to our values. This journey for us requires our community to show love, kind, respect, empathy to our community members as human beings first, from all backgrounds, cultures, traditions, viewpoints, faiths, religions, genders, abilities, identities, ethnicities, and national origins as we come together to thrive. Once again, gratitude and appreciation to the collective support who made today possible, your steadfast dedication, your time and planning for this and making it sure that we're hosted here at South. We say thank you. The Collective Community Conversation Series for us is the start today, once again, of our Social Justice Week. Many of you all have all of the information for Social Justice Week. Please, for those who are online, those who are here, faculty, we encourage you to bring your classes to all of our Social Justice Week speakers to learn, to grow together. This is what it means for us to advance the work of social justice, to go beyond just the celebration of MLK Day on today. We, of course, want to thank our ASL interpreters for being here. We appreciate you, and we could not do it without you. We want to thank the Seattle College's cable TV who is streaming live. We appreciate you, and we thank you. And, of course, we also want to thank everyone who is joining us virtually, and we appreciate you for being here. So many of us have supported to make this space possible and for this community to have this conversation, and we say thank you. Now, I also want to be able to say for us who are joining in person and online for today's conversation, we are looking at from protest to action. What better conversation, what better time now to think about where we go and how we move forward. I want to say we are delighted to make sure what I call is the dynamic duo, the father, the daughter duo, the civil rights activist, beloved elder Eddie Rod Jr., and of course, yes, we're going to show some love, and of course, social justice activist Angela Rod. But before they get in, let's show them some love. We're going to bring them up in just a moment. But before we go deeper into this conversation, we are educators, and we must first take the time to acknowledge the one and the only Mrs. Rye. We have some flowers for you, Mrs. Rye. We want to say thank you as an educator for 20 plus years. We want to say thank you. We honor you. We appreciate you for your work to the students and for who you are. Yes, let's stand and get some love for Mrs. Rye, please, for all of the work that she's done and her dedication as an educator. For Doctor, let me, okay. Y'all better put a handle on that. That's what my granny would say. Better put a handle on that. All right, doctor. So, once again, let's dive deeper. Let's bring up now the one and the only. Once again, the duo. If you all don't mind, now coming up, Doctor. Nope, not Doctor, but we're going to put a handle on you too as well. Beloved Eddie Rock, can you come on up? Angela Rock, please come on up. Please come on up. Let's show some love as they come on up. All right, now, you better wear them shoes. Come on now. Come on now. I like that tie. Listen. Come on in.
I'm taller than my dad today.
Right. And
got a little help. I said I got a little help. He said, with the 8-foot shoes you got on. It's okay to laugh, y'all. It's a lot going on in the world. Take it light. Just a moment. Just take a breath.
So before we go into the conversation, definitely just want to thank you both. Thank you both for being so true to the work, for standing in the gap for many of us, and being on the front lines physically, on the front lines in the media. All of that is what we look up to, and we thank you for the things that you've done in the past, the present, and the things that will be done in the future. So we say thank you, and I'm Butu. Because of you, we are. Help Daddy. I heard that. We're going to set a few ground rules, as you all know, a few guidelines for this brave space, for this conversations. We will follow all district procedures and policies in this brave space. No harassment, no discrimination, no hate speech will be tolerated in this space. Each of you all will have a moment to ask questions, and you all are essential to this conversation, and we need you to know that. We value each and every one of you, and we hope that you all will take up the space needed, but then also we encourage you, if you're taking up too much space, to step on back. All right. You know how we do. For those who are online, as you all heard me say multiple times, no matter if the internet falters, if it goes out, we are here to connect as human beings. So come on back in if it does that too as well. For those who are online, we ask for you to turn on your captions too as well, so you can hear what we're saying and also read what we're saying. I also want to say there is a trigger warning. We're going to get deep. We're going to have conversations that may trigger you. So we ask for those who are online, if you need to step away, and for those who are in the space, if you need to step away from the conversation, please take care of yourself first and prioritize your self-care and your mental health for this conversation, but then come on back. All right, that's the ground rules. We ready to dive on in. So we only have what is 60 minutes, but could be a lifetime of understanding. First and foremost, before we get into the conversation, we believe we need to know more about your journey. I'm going to talk to you about your journey, Eddie Rye, beloved elder, activist. Tell us about who you are and how you got into being what is social justice and a civil rights activist.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't mention one of my best friends since the sixth grade when my family moved from Louisiana. My father was designated by A. Philip Randolph to be the Northwest organizer for the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, the only union that a black man could belong to in those days. And the first person I met in the sixth grade at T.T. Manor was Dr. Charles Mitchell. And we remained friends forever. And did a lot of things together. As a matter of fact, when we got married, I was his best man. So that's how tight we were.
Oh.
But in terms of activism, I think that, you'll see what the issues are, and then you try to address them. We want to get into some more details in terms of how you actually organize. But I was my brothers are 6'4", I'm 5'10", and I always had to talk bad to them to keep them in line. And at the same time, you start noticing things as you're growing up about segregation. At one point in the central area of Seattle was the only place where black folks could live in. They didn't live in the housing projects in Holly Park or High Point in West Seattle. Wow. Now both of those plots of land are occupied by skyscrapers that the folks who used to live there can't stay. So anyway, I want to just briefly state that I host Urban Forum Northwest Radio. I'm very, very close to Reverend Dr. Samuel Berry McKinney. And he baptized me in 58 and 1984. Wow. He designated me, along with others, to be the chair of the Reverend Jesse Jackson campaign for president in 1984. In that process, we learned a lot of things. Before, we were putting up yard signs and giving up money. But through Reverend Jackson's efforts, we were able to actually participate in the county convention and the state convention, get on the committees. A lot of opportunities were open, not only in this area, but all across the country. In 1988, there was far more participation by people of color in the democratic process. And we know with the way it's going right now, we got to get even more involved. So I don't want to.
No, I know we get time and we're going to hear, but let me just say first and foremost, to be in the presence of history right here is an honor as we think about yes. As we think about how history is being erased, in particular in our communities. So we say thank you, and we can go on and on and on about the history. But I'm going to ask you, Angela Rye, was this something, I mean, how did you get into it? Was it just your calling? You had to because it was in the house? Talk to us. How did you start?
Yeah, I don't know that there was going to be any other way with Dr. Rye and Eddie Rye here. I can't think of a time where my parents weren't actively engaged in pursuing righteousness and justice for all people. I think that we're laser focused on ensuring that Black people advance in this country in particular, but my dad has always operated under a Rainbow Coalition motto. I think so much of that has to do with the teachings that he followed from Dr. King, from Reverend Jackson. And my mom is no different. My mom chaired an affirmative action commission at Shoreline, worked to ensure that all kids could learn and that teachers were properly equipped to teach all children. So I just don't know that there was ever going to be any other option. And I'm grateful for that. Dad, one thing I'm surprised you didn't mention was your National Guard story. No, what is not National Guard? What was it?
That's what it was.
It was National Guard?
Yes.
I'm scared of the National Guard right now, probably. I'm sorry. So National Guard.
It was a different guard in those days.
No, well, we were in Washington State. Different? Because here's the point. So was it different? Because what was your experience? Can you share a little bit about you were getting ready to go to officer training school and what happened?
Well, what happened is that I was in the Army National Guard. They had a medical unit at Pier 99 in Seattle. I went through basic training. You did the regular Army stuff, went to basic training. And then we went down to Fort Sam Houston for medical training. And I was getting a drink of water out the water fountain. And all of a sudden, this guy tells me, "Hey, boy, that uniform don't make you white." So anyway, they kept, and I was in San Antonio, Texas. The Black students were having sit-ins at the various lunch counters. So I went down and tried to buy a ticket at the white counter at the movie theater. At the same time, they were trying to recruit me to go to Officers Canada School, which was in Georgia. I said, hell no. I'll go back to Seattle and face some discrimination, but I'm certainly not going down to Georgia. They said, you'll be equal on the base. I said, I'd be equal in Seattle, too. So that was my experience with the Army so far.
So I bring that up just to say that, growing up with my dad, people would say, "Eddie Rye, how you doing?" And his response would be, "I'm just out here fighting this racism, man." And I'm bringing that up to say, like, I used to be like, this is so crazy. Why can't he just say I'm fine? Or, today is rough, or whatever. But then in 2016, when Donald Trump won the election, somebody asked me how I was doing. I said, my dad would say, I'm just out here fighting this racism, man.
Yeah.
So it comes back, especially if we're not thoughtful about not saying once there's been a minor advancement that America is now post-racial. Right? It is important that when it looks like Black lives matter and they finally matter, that we don't erase the remnants of that off of a plaza in Washington, D.C., because it can quickly turn. And we're seeing just how visceral that boomerang effect is nowadays. So I didn't have a choice. And what I can tell you is I'm very grateful that I didn't have a choice because it equipped me for such a time as this.
Wow.
There's a picture of her when she was 3 years, 10 months old at the 20th anniversary of the August 28th, 1963 March on Washington, D.C. For Jobs and Freedom, where Dr. King gave his I Have a Dream speech. At 3 years, 10 months old, 20 years after that march, you see this on my Facebook page right now, make Dr. King's birthday a national holiday. That was August 28th, 1963. November 2nd, 1963, President Ronald Reagan, the only thing he did I agreed with, 1983, he signed the first Martin Luther King holiday bill, which went into effect the third Monday in January 1986. I've had a lot of, as a matter of fact, we live in Martin Luther King Jr. County. Yeah. And I think that I'm grateful that I had the tutelage of Dr. McKinney and the commitment. He said, if you believe something, don't back down. And you might have to go to jail sometime. And I did at the South African consulate protesting apartheid. I was one of the first people to go to jail protesting apartheid at the so-called honorary South African consulate in Seattle in Madison Park, in a very affluent neighborhood. Wow. A month after that arrest, every Sunday for 18 months, there were protests outside the South African consulate.
Every Sunday? Every
Sunday. And then on Christmas Day, our Jewish brothers and sisters protested.
Wow.
I just want to say one other thing, since my dad brought up Dr. King. You all probably can't see, but on his lapel is an image of Dr. King, and that is the King County logo now. My dad, do you have any in your pocket? He's regularly slinging these things like the Fruit of Islam and bean pies. He slings those pins. So if you ever want a logo pin, how many you have, Daddy?
One.
What? You handed them all out.
Every time I go to Washington, D.C., most members of the Congressional Black Caucus want one. And I'm not going to dissatisfy them because I might need something
from them. He actually offers them so that we're clear. He's like, you need one of these. We got the only Martin Luther King County in the country. It's very good. Daddy, we are very proud of your work with this, but I'm surprised he only has one left. I'm sure there will be another order coming. Is there another order?
We'll talk to the new county executive, Gurmay Sahale, and see if we can get that done.
Right, Sahale, but yes, Gurmay, I'm sure we'll be happy to order some for you.
So as we think about our students right now who are watching and who did not get the honor and the privilege to be in a household like this, what advice do you give to them? To what role should they play right now in social justice and being an activist?
You know, at one time, if you saw something, you said something. Now, because of you seen what ICE has been doing, if you see something, record it. Then that way you have empirical evidence of some wrongdoing. So that's my advice to people. The other thing is study the history of the civil rights movement. It's very, very important that you understand who did what, when, and where. The other thing I'd advise you to do is if you see something that is totally wrong, you have to stand up. And a lot of times people think you have to, some people go around and they do a survey, call all these different folks and stuff. One person with the right message can get something done. When we were changing the name of Empire Way to Martin Luther King Jr. Way back in the 80s, it had to go all the way to state Supreme Court before they would change the name of the street. The city council signed off. The mayor had signed it, although the mayor was a little wishy-washy, Charles Royer. He accused me in some article of rubbing people the wrong way. But Royer, if you want to cut the street off at where it intersects with Rainier, I'm going to rub you the wrong way. The late city council member George Benson and Sam Smith said, naming half the street for a great man is a half an honor. And it had not been for Councilman Sam Smith and George Benson, that street would have been cut off at where it intersects with Rainier. Now, on December 11th, the Washington State Transportation Commission voted unanimously to extend the street from Seattle to Kent.
Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
A sister by the name of Gwen Allen Carson, Executive Director of the Kent Black Action Commission, Representative Mia Gregerson, and Senator Claudia Kaufman have been working on this for over a year. So it finally happened. They will not take the original signs down. Dr. King's sign will be underneath those signs. Mm-hmm. But anytime we can have Dr. King's name anywhere in this time, in this day and age, is a welcome sight for me.
Okay. Thank you. I want to go into, and I know, Angela, I'm going to ask you the same, and I'm going to do a quick plug for all of our students out here in the audience and then watching online. I believe you have an internship that closes this evening, too, as well.
It's our professional development program, and right now we're at 89 applicants, but we absolutely will take them. I try not to turn anyone away. You have to be really off for me to turn you away, and we just try to expand the program with our gurus and that kind of thing. But it is my professional development program is not your ordinary networking circle. Okay. It is entrenched with the values that I was raised with in my home. And the reason we started the program is because so many young people asked me to mentor them. And I was like, I don't have the bandwidth, so let me cultivate something that could work, because I can't mentor, 100 kids at one time or 100 young adults at one time. So we started this program to create an on-ramp for them to engage in work that benefits community. So one project that I'm really, really proud of our students for working on was the pardon application and campaign around Marilyn Mosby, who should have never been charged. She was targeted under the Trump administration because she told Donald Trump, Dad, this is why I'm triggered by National Guard. If you send the National Guard into Baltimore at the height of George Floyd protests, we will prosecute them. And after that, she was on their radar and was relentlessly targeted, just like Tish James, just like Lisa Cook, and now the Fed Chair Jerome Powell, and now James Comey. I bet James Comey wish he didn't do what he did, by the way. But I'm saying all that to say, don't get started, Daddy. Saying all that to say, this is something that's really important. We all have the tools. I'll give anybody that blueprint to operationalize a professional development program for our young people, because I want them to know the skills they learn in school, the skills they learn at work are supposed to be to the benefit of the overall village. And if that is not what you're doing, then we're doing it wrong.
Wow. James Comey calls Chris.
I said, don't get started on that. It's celebrate Dr. King. James Comey was not a part of the dream.
I know, but he killed Hillary Clinton in our dream.
Just let it go.
The dynamic duo. Now y'all see why I call them the dynamic duo. I love it. So I'm going to move into some questions that from our community in particular. Angela, I'm going to lean on you. When we think about the media coverage shaping what we understand as protests, what we understand going on, what advice do you have to counter the misinformation and the negative narratives that we see happening about the protests and the movements?
Native Land Pod?
Dad, so there was a book, speaking of Native Land Pod, there was a book that our executive producer, Lauren, recommended from Maria Ressa called How to Beat a Dictator, I believe. Mom, we were reading it together. Is it How to Fight a Dictator, How to Beat a Dictator? Yes, that's it. I'm just ready to fight. You're right. How to Stand Up to a Dictator. It was much more simple than that, not as combative. And I think that it's really important for us to understand that the man that currently occupies the White House is striving to be a dictator at all costs. In order for us to fight an authoritarian regime, we have to understand the work of bold citizens in other countries across the globe that have done this same kind of work. There's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun, even from the civil rights movement here. Adolf Hitler, when asked where he got the idea about Nazi Germany, and my dear brother Leonard just reminded me of this yesterday, said that he got it from studying the Jim Crow South. Right? And so we have to understand that our role in an environment like this is to speak truth to power, regardless of how small or how large our platforms are. We're seeing media companies, law firms, corporations fold at the hand of a dictator, not because they're afraid of him, but because they're greedy. If they do what the dictator wants, then they stand to gain revenue. They stand to profit from our pain. So we can't allow that. We have to stand up and tell different stories. There's a woman out of Minneapolis right now. I encourage you all to follow her. She's a journalist who has been on the streets amidst the protests. Her name is Georgia Fort, and she is getting some of the best content, period. She's not being filtered. She's not being edited. Based on what would meet standards under a Trump regime. She's telling the truth. And I think those are the kinds of things we need to do. And the best thing we can do for some of those local journalists is uplift their work so that it tricks the algorithm and it ensures that it gets into more of our friends' feeds. Repost it. Those are the kinds of things we need to do. On our podcast, we work very diligently to only have people on who either we can refute, because we will have people on we don't agree with, but also make sure that we have folks on who are regularly using their platforms for good. And we try our best to do the very same.
You have anything?
Well, yeah, I host Urban Forum Northwest Radio.
Yes, please.
1150 MKKNW, and 2 hours after the live broadcast on Thursdays. It's available on Alexa, on my podcast, and also on my website, urbanforumnw.com. Programs for the last year archived there as well. And then I do invite people that I don't agree with, that have what I consider to be a legitimate point of view. I think that's important to have a variety of viewpoints, but I don't have anybody so far to the right that I can't stand them, because I wouldn't invite them on anyway. So, but I do use that media for that purpose. And I would like to go, there's a couple other things I'll talk about just in terms of historically. In 1972, I chaired the Central Seattle Community Council Federation's Housing Committee. And in 1973, we dropped the first report on redlining. And we got attacked by a lot of people. We did a lot of attacking ourselves. And 50 years later, everything in that report has come to fruition.
Wow.
The majority of the African-American community has transitioned to South County because of the economic apartheid system in terms of public contracting. And you would think that Washington State, it would be so liberal. It's a blue state. But when it comes down to opportunities in business and doing business with the state government and other public agencies, it might as well be a red state. From 1998, December 3rd, 1998 to January 2022, Washington State did not have affirmative action. Governor Gary Locke signed Governor's Directive 98-01, December 3rd, 1998. And it wasn't rescinded until Attorney Jesse Weinberry, a former state representative, got he and Governor Jay Inslee to Gary Locke to rescind his governor's directive, and Jay Inslee to issue an executive order to reinstate affirmative action. The sad thing is that at the end of 2022, African-American businesses did 0.22% with the state. In 2023, African-American owned businesses did 0.31. In 2024, African-Americans did 0.34. And they asked me, why am I unhappy? I'm also the co-founder of the Washington State chapter of the National Association of Minority Contractors. So we go to these meetings with these folks. We talk to them. It doesn't mean a damn thing. And that's one of the reasons why there's a mass exodus of African Americans out of the central area and out of other areas because of the fact there's the affordability. If you can't get a contract, then, you're not going to do well. And then we got people who are qualified to go into business, but why would they make an investment into something where they see everyone else failing and not participating? So we're encouraging, and I've been talking to legislators all week. They went back in the session on Monday, talking to them all week about what can we do to end this discrimination. Now, in 2021, we filed a federal complaint. The Democrats were in charge. Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation, 21 African-American owned businesses and organizations filed a complaint that was never heard. It was sent over to the Department of Transportation. It was sat on. As a matter of fact, in 2022, after a reception that was held by Joyce Beatty, who was the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, I got a chance to get nose to nose with Pete Buttigieg, and Angela got a chance to hear it all. But those are the issues we're facing with right now. We had this Rebuild America, and we got 10 black truckers who are going out of business. One white trucking firm got self-certified by the Department of Enterprise Services. Now the guy has 105 trucks. He bought the company from his wife, so they say. 105 trucks, and the 10 black truckers are selling their equipment. 2 of them have lost their homes. They're selling their equipment just so they can eat. But this is not a violation of the law, but it is racism, economic apartheid, alive and well. So we're still fighting that.
And this is going on now. And what I appreciate about you bringing the now in from somebody, and many of us who are transplants and not from Seattle, and we get here, we don't hear these stories because of what we know is the liberal state, and everybody wants to see us thrive together, but we don't really feel it all the time. So to hear it and to know, how can we, someone not from here, get involved, get invested, because we're still in the community and we want to see the black community and brown communities thrive? What can we do?
There are a lot of things we can do. I think we have the leaders of the Seattle Martin Luther King Organizing Coalition here. I think the president is here. So that's one thing you can do. There are going to be workshops. There will be meetings leading up to that event. Our association, National Association of Minority Contractors, have a monthly meeting where we invite people from the various government organizations in, the decision makers in. Have made a big difference, but we invite them in anyway because they can never say that they didn't have the conversation. We have the conversation, but they bear little fruit.
I want to say on this point about how can transplants get involved, I think it's important to build community even when you don't share a neighborhood or a zip code with someone. I also think because this is Dr. King Weekend and we have allies in the room, I want you to think very carefully about what your community, your chosen family, your places of work look like. If you're not seeing anybody that looks like us in your place of work, in your social circles, where you go to do yoga, whatever, your neighbor has the Black Lives Matter sign up in their yard, but you ain't never seen their Black friend come over. It's probably time to make some type of changes. My dad referenced the numbers of minority business, Black business participation in this state. If your company, or if you know of a company that lets contracts, challenge them to ask when the last time they even talked to a Black business that does some of this work. I remember growing up, and this is one thing that I'm very, very grateful for, Dad. I would say I needed something. But I remember in particular, 6th grade, I took some pictures, your school pictures, and I hated them so bad. I was like, Dad, I need new pictures. And he had this Black Dollar Days Task Force directory. I don't know how many of you all remember Black Dollar Days Task Force. I see some hands. So there was a directory, and everything that I say I needed, my dad threw that directory to me. Like, find it in here, find it in here. You can support a Black business first, and that is a choice. You don't have to be Black to support a Black business first. That is also a choice. But this environment that we're in, economically, we know that they have now made DEI violently mean didn't earn it, even though they're the ones that clearly are not earning it. There's Fox News hosts cheering, or secretaries of major departments, people with no work experience whatsoever, many of us running circles around them just by resume and qualifications. They're the ones that didn't earn it. But there are several folks who did earn it, have not had the opportunity. Create a pathway for access. That is what equity is really about, being mindful of how you engage with other people. I think, moreover, we spend a lot of time talking about how to get involved, and the first thing we look to is something social. And I'm not meaning social justice. I mean, like, oh, let's go to this happy hour, this thing. Well, in order to really build community and for that community to be sustained, you have to be intentional on sharing your gifts with a group. So for some of us, that's our places of worship. It's a community service project. When I was walking in and Reed was coming to get me, I was listening to a message from Paul Sanders, who runs this incredible program for folks who are incarcerated. We should be doing some of that work together. There are brothers and sisters behind bars. So we need to be working on that kind of thing to ensure even when folks are incarcerated, there's an on-ramp for them and a welcoming hand once they're released.
Thank you. Audience, as we start gathering in, I want to make sure that I give you the opportunity. So Dr. White has a mic and it'll come over here. If you start having questions, we'll line up over here for questions. This is the time, and I do have some more questions that we did get from folks online and from our community, so we're going to answer those here in a minute, but I do want to at least start opening up for some of the questions. So as we move forward into this conversation, let's hit on ICE. Let's get there. What does that look like as far as, so we have communities who are saying, in particular communities of color, that are like, it's not my battle. It's not my fight. Y'all voted for him. What do we say? What do we do?
If you don't stand up for them, you'll be next.
Say it again.
Next is
If
here.
you don't stand up for them, you will be next.
Come on.
Keith Porter Jr., there's been a lot of attention, national media attention to Renee Good. May God rest her soul. But before Renee Good, there was Keith Porter Jr.
Mhm.
Before Keith Porter Jr., there were 32 others. Whether you are an immigrant who has entered this country legally or not, ICE does not have the right to take lives.
Mm.
And for what point? There's an ICE agent recently confessed to raping a woman.
Wow.
Right? Like, this is absolutely our battle. And I would actually challenge us to, on this particular point, since I brought up Minnesota, before Renee Good, there was George Floyd in Minneapolis. Before George Floyd in Minneapolis, there was Philando Castile. All that has changed is the jurisdiction of the officer, of the law enforcement. We're talking about federal law enforcement abusing their power. But before that, there was the Minneapolis Police Department that was abusing their power. We have a power issue with law enforcement in this country, and we don't have to go beyond the confines of Seattle to have seen that. Tacoma, if we think about Manny Ellis. So we know that firsthand. We know that people have to be challenged in these roles, not to mention that they're getting to abuse their power fully masked.
Yeah.
So right now, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, along with many others in the United States House, have introduced legislation called the Clear Act to force ICE to remove their masks. Will this potential legislation get to the Senate? Probably not. When it got to Donald Trump's desk, is he going to sign it? Probably not. But I think that we have to be forcing legislators to use all of the tools in their toolbox. And we also have to use all the tools in our toolbox. For every gun that ICE pulls, there is a whistle, there is a horn. There are people that are utilizing their cameras, as my dad talked about, to show the rampant abuses of this law enforcement agency. And it is not going to change if we turn a blind eye, if we walk away, if we stay behind closed doors, and we don't step boldly in front of them and let them know, not on our watch, not in our city. And if you come here, you will be prosecuted. Now, that's up to city attorneys and DAs and states attorneys general, but that has to happen. Otherwise, they're going to continue going forward with this.
I want to sit with that. I want to sit with that because you all broke it down and when we asked the question, even in the audience was saying, oh, it's now. It's not that we next, we're here. So when I think about how do we unite during these times and what does that look like for us to unite as a people? What does that, even, matter of fact, before we go into now, what did it look like in your era to unite, to come together?
Well, we really didn't have much choice, but then we didn't have much power either. But through the NAACP and others, we had back in the 50s, 60s, blacks killed, and there was never any repercussions for the law enforcement. Folks who were involved, they usually got promoted. So wow. I mentioned, I said, I will be next from ICE, but we've always been on the menu for everybody else.
Ooh. Dropping gems that I'm hoping that we're getting, and I'm glad that we're recording. Dr. Shante, okay? And we're recording because we're going to use this podcast. It's not a podcast, but I'm taking y'all's podcast next. I'm going to do my own. No. But thank you. Come on, Angela. What does now looking like for us to unite? What does that look like for us?
I think it looks like opening your doors to a neighbor. I think it looks like in Minneapolis, one thing that they're doing that I think is incredible is for folks who are afraid to leave their homes, they're bringing groceries to their neighbors, diapers, essential needs. I love that they're doing that. I think if you have a specialty that you can offer, so for example, I'm an attorney. Where are the legal clinics to let people know what their rights are in the face of ICE, but also how they can respond if there's any type of case that they're now facing, or if they have an immigration case they're worried about? What are the tools that we have to offer, the person that we can call to ensure that folks know they're not alone? I remember one of the most important things Kamala Harris told me on the other side of her election to the Senate. I was just like, I cannot believe this man won again. This was in 2016. And she said at the end of our conversation, I just want to remind you that you're not alone. And that is something that we need to be reminding our neighbors who are sitting at home feeling like the weight of the world is on their shoulders in the midst of this crisis, that we're all carrying this together. And if we all do our part, the load gets a little lighter. If we all stand up, they can't take us all on. Like Jacob Frey, when he was asked about why he won't just arrest the ICE officers in the streets of Minneapolis, he said, well, they outnumber us. But if more of Minnesota came forward, more the state troopers in Minnesota, if everybody, the county level, they came forward, they are not going to be outnumbered for long. You know, if you see somebody doing something wrong, yes, there is something you can do. You can record it. You can make sure that your elected official knows about it. You can press. But these folks are moving like they're above the law. So what are your rights with folks who are not obedient or complying with the law? That gets a little more tricky. I don't have the answer to that. Even as an attorney, I know what to tell you legally, but they're the illegals. Yeah. They want to call people illegals, right? If you're breaking the law, that's exactly what you are.
Right.
So I think that's the part. And I think we have to wrestle with how we get creative in this moment by learning from history and by learning from folks who had to live under a dictatorship.
Thank you. All right, let's go to the audience for some questions, please.
This question is for Angela, but first I want to just recognize Eddie. Eddie and I, we've been in some battles. This is Carl Livingston. We've been in some battles the airport, CCCJ, and a lot of different places, Sound Transit. But for Angela Rye, you are in a unique vantage point because of your national and international work. And I was part of a group that was 2 years ago saying this election is serious. It could lead to dictatorship. You are getting a chance to see Trump's groups buying CBS, and you do so much in the media and information and all of that. I guess they're making a move now on the group that is connected to NBC or something. What concerns you the most? The buying the media? Is it the troops in the streets? Is it the what they're doing behind the scenes with these elections and the ballot boxes? From your vantage point, which we don't have, what can you share with us about what concerns you the most?
You know, what concerns me the most is not even the companies, the law firms, like I talked about earlier, and the media outlets that are just kind of bowing to Trump. What concerns me the most is all this is happening, and there are so many people who are completely unaware. That's what concerns me the most. I don't know how we fight with the power of the people if the people are ill-informed, if the people are moved by AI videos. There are ICE interactions that are being recorded right now that are completely AI, completely fictional. So when you have a president that is calling himself the acting president of Venezuela, when you have a president who's saying that he's going to buy Greenland, when you have a president who thinks this is The Apprentice, and you have people watching for ratings and entertainment value and don't know that trouble is here until it knocks on their front door or barges in their front door, that is what is concerning. Because we're at the point now where all that will protect the democracy, or frankly, I really don't care about the democracy because it was flawed so much to begin with. But if we are to protect the advances that our people fought for and saw, that means everybody has to wake up. And I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know if it's going to take, somebody's childhood friend being taken from right under their nose. I don't know if it's going to take, there's probably 700,000 Black women who are unemployed now. I don't know if it's going to take 1.7 million. I don't know if it's going to take the numbers going down, Dad, from 0.34 to 0.003%. I don't know if it's going to take all the Black businesses that had contracts through all the federal government agencies that now can't use their status as their racial status to get some type or qualify for some small disadvantaged business program. Now they can't hire us because we're the ones that hire us. So now the unemployment lines are longer, unemployment benefits are soaring, and they have to prove the fact that they actually need the benefits. I don't know if it's going to take a travel ban being enacted on us because we have banned every country from traveling here. Surprise, surprise, they're mostly Black and brown. So when y'all are trying to go to Turks and Caicos and can't get in, I don't know if it's that. Like, I don't know what it's going to take, but it should have been sufficient in 2016. It should have been sufficient in 2020 when George Floyd was killed and people were in the streets and they were still being abused. It should have taken 2024 when this man said he might seek a third term. Yeah. So I don't know what it's going to take for people to care, but I think the hard part is we also have to come to terms with the fact that this country has never cared about us. So when we ask people to go out and vote for democracy, they're like, but I don't have a job. But I can't pay my light bill. But my child is in jail and I can't afford the attorney that I really need to make sure that they have a full-throated defense. So we're asking people to care about a thing holistically when we have not cared about the individual. It's hard. That's a conundrum that we all have. We need people to wake up, but we've never showed them we cared. But now we need them to care about this broader thing. And yes, this broader thing is going to impact the individual, but they haven't felt seen. So I'm sorry, Dad, I'm in a loop. You got me out?
Amen.
Well, how do we get out the loop, Dad?
Just as you indicated, you have to give a damn. You have to get engaged. And you have to also talk to folks about what the issues are, what their issues are. And you'll find out, one of the things we were changing the name of the street, and I still abide by this rule, always try to get from the grassroots up, not from the leaders down. Because if you get everybody to sign petitions, they're involved. They have discussed the issue. They know what's going on. So anytime you want to have a movement going, no matter what it is, you're trying to block a construction project or trying to get justice somewhere, make sure you engage the people who are affected by whatever is taking place. And I always found out by having people sign a petition is the best way to do it, because then they are personally involved. It's not being dictated from the top down. Like the leader said, we shall do this. It needs to come from the people to the leaders.
That's a good point. And on that, because I know I was a very gloom and doom circle, so thank you for the amen, Dad. But I will say this: there was a GoFundMe that was recently put up for the officer who killed Renee Good. And I know the person who runs GoFundMe, so I was like, "Can we talk about this?" We were supposed to have a call, we didn't yet. But I would encourage us all to think about what it looks like to just even put up a petition to ensure that that officer never sees those funds. There should not be. We all saw the video, not the AI video that Elon Musk put up, but we all saw the real video. There's no reason this man should have any funds from anybody. They should just freeze it. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's one place we can start.
Thank you. Come on in.
McKinney. I have a comment that's leading into a question for Angela. There was a Frank Capra movie a long time ago called Meet John Doe. And what's fascinating about the movie is that it's during the Depression and there are people in lines who can't eat, don't have jobs. And one of them was named John Doe by the media, who wanted to use him in some very complicated ways that I won't get into. But he basically said if he didn't have a job, he was going to kill himself. And all of a sudden, John Doe clubs started forming that didn't have anything to do with them. So if the woman next door couldn't see, somebody would go to read for her. If you were a tailor and the kids next door needed clothes, you sewed them. If somebody needed food, you cooked for them. And so it's the kind of thing that you're talking about. People caring for one another is a way to start this, and then standing up for each other in the streets if needed. And so one of the things I want to ask you as an attorney is what do folks who don't know their Fourth Amendment rights need to know? Like, who can put their foot in your door? Can folks open your car and look in your trunk? Can they pull you out? Can they tear gas your vents and then bash your head and then tell you, did you see what we did to the woman the other day? I mean, what are the things that we can say if we are confronted with someone or if we see someone and need to get involved? What are our constitutional rights? They may not want to abide by them, but what is it that we need to know about what they actually are?
Yes, there's a constitutional right to protest, and they're assaulting protesters. Right. They're not supposed to be able to kick your door in which is basically barging in like you have a search warrant. They don't have that. They are asking you to show your papers as this is South African apartheid with passbooks. We shouldn't be doing that. We have a president who is taking a birthright citizenship case before the Supreme Court. That gives us Dred Scott vibes, right? Like this man who worked his life away, sought citizenship after he moved out of a state that was a slave state. And they said, you're not a citizen because you're a slave. Wow. Right. And so we're not trying to hearken back to that. What we should know is that the Constitution should mean something. Dr. King said that the country should be true to what it said on paper. It hasn't done that yet. No. Ever. And so here's a unique opportunity for this country to reset itself and finally be true to what it says on paper. Equal protection under the law, right to free speech, right to bear arms, right to protest. Right now, they're saying the reason that ICE is so problematic and our constitutional rights are swaying in the balance is because they have 47 days of training. Most law enforcement agencies at least give 5 to 6 months of training, and we know that's not even good enough, clearly. But 47 days of training, of course, you're going to end up with some people who don't know what they're doing. And it just so happens that if you decide to let the leader of the Proud Boys be an ICE agent, right, you might be stepping into something that's not going to be good for people who look like us. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Come on into the space.
Good afternoon. I am a student here at South, and I came up here. I don't have the best retention for keeping details in memory, but I did want to kind of have a comment / question, kind of referencing to what Miss Angela said earlier. I guess I would like to preface by saying that I am a first-generation American. I moved up here from California, and despite what a lot of people might have assumptions about California, we did move up to Seattle because we were kind of under the influence for better opportunities as a sanctuary city. I am very proud to be a first-generation American. I feel like not a lot of people acknowledge the fact that if you're from a different country, if you're from Honduras, Venezuela, Mexico, being in America is a privilege. It's so wonderful knowing that I'm able to gather around this panel and see. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
It's okay.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Your time.
I'm so sorry to see the opportunity that God has blessed us in this country, in this family, so that people could talk about what's for what's right. But at the same time, I don't know. And excuse me, I'm so sorry. I understand that this is not the topic of today's panel. We are here to celebrate and talk about different topics, but I'm wondering that the thing that I'm going to talk about may cross paths. Like I said, I am a first-generation American. I have parents and I have sisters who are here. I'm the only one working. I am getting groceries for my family. And I feel like what you mentioned earlier, Miss Angela, about being able to stand up and to help people, bring your neighbors groceries and stuff. What I have noticed here is that ever since we moved here, it has been a lot of support, but it's been nothing but words.
Mm-hmm.
I see so many people saying, like, F-ice, this and that, but it's just flags on their houses. What actual action, and it's hard because I'm 20 years old, and I'm so sorry. I have little sisters, and I have a mother and we understand the risk of being here. We understand that. But what am I gonna do if my mother is not here without due process? And so I guess my question is, how can I, as a student who is working, who is providing for her family, what can I do? And also supporting you guys and my family without potentially putting myself into trouble. Because then that just leaves my mother. And then what happens to my mother? And then what then happens to my little sisters, So I'm sorry, I don't mean to be on a tangent. But I feel like a lot of people don't recognize what a privilege it is to be here in the States, to be here in Seattle, Washington, in America. And kind of just going back, but at the same time, what can I do in these unique circumstances when people, all they do is they just talk of support? I'm so sorry. That was a weird question.
You shouldn't apologize. Daddy, go ahead.
Yeah, in 1972, I occupied the Beacon Hill School with Roberto Maestas and other folks. So one of the things I want you to do is to contact El Centro de la Raza, call Estella Ortega, who is the executive director up there, and let her know that Eddie Rice suggested that you call her, okay? That's how you get support. I'm glad to share your story with us. Thank you.
I also think if we can, I know this isn't church, but we have platforms like GoFundMe and all of that. How many of you all have cash on you? Does anybody have cash on them? Can you all please give this young woman some money for groceries for her family? I can assure you I left my money in the car, but I'm going to go to the car before I leave, and I'm going to give you money for that. That is, I know you don't want it, but hear what I'm saying. I want us to practice in this room first, sowing seeds and going beyond the signs and the banners and the hashtags and the videos to meet a need of someone in here. Otherwise, we never get to the point of practicing what we preach. And so we have to do that. this is what community looks like when there's someone in need. Yes, I know there's probably somebody like, I have my last $20, but I promise if you sow that seed to this young woman, it is going to come back to you 100-fold. I really believe that. And so we've got to figure out a way in community. But maybe there's somebody that makes too much food. Every time I cook, I make too much food. My parents can tell you. So just make too much food and bring it down the road to them, right? If there's something like you're like, oh, I need help with, I'm overwhelmed with work, something's going on with classes, make sure that your teachers are a part of that community so they know when to give you grace. But some of what has to happen, we talk about things are just words, but we would have never known what you were dealing with if you, my mic went out there. Oh, never mind, it's back. We wouldn't have known if you didn't share your words. And now we have your words. Now because we have your words, we can do something beyond our own, right? So it takes us being vulnerable to get us to the point to really move and do something different. So if we can, Dad, you got some money?
It's in the car.
Dang, we both did the same thing.
But anyway,
Okay. We're going to give you money, though, just to help. And that doesn't mean that's all we're going to do. I think my dad is right about El Centro de la Raza. And there are so many other resources. If you all have resources that can help to support her, that I cannot imagine the overwhelm she's experiencing as a big sister, trying to protect her mom and also trying to protect her siblings. So let's please make sure we equip this young sister.
Kano, come on up and introduce yourself to the student, and we'll make sure ACO also our department. And thank you for that action and everybody who decided to do that right then and there. This is the moments that we look forward to as a community, and this is what it's about. So thank you for charging us to do it and making it be done right here.
and I know Dr. Ricasner has a big purse. We want the president to take the lead.
We did the lead. We got you, sis. Sorry, that's my dad. That's what he's gonna do. Look, Baba, I got you. I got you. Oh, thank you. Here.
All right. We have our brilliant faculty. Come on in here.
It's not on.
Say something.
Test. Okay.
Carolina, come on, give the. Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for offering this very humane moment, for allowing us to be human and respond in the moment. I really appreciated earlier when you said this is an opportunity to reset in terms of when we're talking about the Constitution. And as so many laws have been changed regressively, and as a lawyer, how do you see that rebuilding of legislation taking place when the time comes? My hope is that they're not going to be in power forever, right? And that there's going to be a time to, when we're rebuilding now, but in terms of legislation, what does that look like to bring back the laws that allow for Black businesses to get the contracts that are needed? And what is it going to take?
Yeah, I think that this, and Dad, I really want to hear from you on this too, but I think that what we have to be honest about is that this is a local, a city, county, state issue across the country. So this isn't just about like a Trump acolyte situation. This has been, no matter who's in charge, on a bipartisan level, we have seen racism in minority business participation, period. And so we have to reckon with the fact that even when there are people who say, like, to the point, just words, right? They talk a good talk, but we haven't seen that. We haven't seen us be made whole in our paychecks, in the contracts that are let, or in the value of the contracts that are actually let. That, which is another good piece of data we should find out about the 0.34%. How much did they actually earn in total, up against what the state actually let out? So I think we have to have a conversation about what real participation looks like and how states and locals will stand up in the face of the federal government. The reality of it is, in order to get state funding, they are absolutely going to tie whether or not you comply with no longer considering race and gender. And so states have to decide if they have the purse, the bandwidth, the courage to say we're not going to do that, or get creative about how we instruct our businesses to thrive given that environment? What do you think that?
I probably am the oldest person in this room. I'll be 100 years old on February 11th.
I'll see it.
I'm a social worker. I have, I have been a social worker and involved in community projects ever since I went to college and trained myself. What I want to say to all of you young people here in this room is that you have to make some very serious decisions about what it is you want to do to help at this point. If you want to get yourself prepared, then to do something, you have to go about it in a very organized, deliberate kind of way. You know, you have to decide. This is a college right here. And it is an indication that you really want to get yourself prepared to do something that's very effective in the community. I have worked in this community for quite a long time. I originally came from Massachusetts and got my master's degree at Boston University, where the person that you're honoring this week got his doctorate. And I proceeded to come here. My husband was the person who provided the cars for Martin Luther King when he was here. I'm Mrs. Allen. And I have my doctorate degree in social work, and I still have an appointment with the University of Washington. I have a lifetime appointment. I was the first black, or I'm a mixed race person. I'm black, and I'm Native American and white, all a mixture. And I had to deal with all of these folks in order to try to gain better rights for people. My particular approach having to be women's rights, women's issues, historically, and involving whether people wanted to involve themselves in individuals who are having difficulties, in groups that were having difficulties, and whole communities that were having difficulties. I worked here and had lots of contacts with the person that you're honoring here today. My husband was the owner of the funeral home that sponsored Martin Luther King. He was one of the people sponsoring Martin Luther King coming here to this community.
What was the name of the funeral home?
Evergreen. Allen's Evergreen Funeral Home. And when we came from Massachusetts to this community, they would not allow black people to have funerals in some of the white funeral homes. There was only one funeral home in this community to bury our loved ones. My husband did his thing in the funeral homes, and I went to the university and became a tenured professor at the University of Washington. I also served as a person who went to Hawaii, and I served as a visiting scholar at the University of Hawaii, and then went to the International Conference of Social Work dealing with women's issues. And I was talking about women of color, essentially. And we really have our problems at this point with our president.
Community.
In terms of
Community, I want to honor all that we just heard. Can we stand? We have living legend right here. 100.
No, I don't.
Thank you. We honor you. We appreciate you. And we thank you for all of the work and the service you've done on behalf of so many of our communities. And what a treasure. Can we get a picture with her before we leave,
Okay.
please? Thank
What
you,
I-
Patricia.
Okay, well, what I want to say is that you need to get yourself prepared
Get
to
prepared.
handle some of these folk. And it's very different now than it was when I came along. But you still have to be very careful as to how you deal with these folks, because they will kill you. They will mess with you.
We see.
They will mess with your families. And you need to be prepared, not just in an intellectual sense, but you need to know what it means to be a person of color, a educated person of color in this community. I mean, you can't go around with your head in the clouds. I'll tell you that.
Get them out.
All right, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to go
Thank
further.
you. No, we need
But I'm
that.
saying,
That's a
but what I'm saying,
We needed that wisdom. We thank you so much once again. And we honor you, and we're going to make sure we all get a picture up front. So we'll start getting her up front. We have 10 more minutes, so let's roll her on up front so we can get her up here so we can get a picture really
I want to
quick.
know if I want to see.
all right,
I want.
okay.
I want to see.
I'll stop at this point.
All right.
Okay,
Home was on 19th
I have
Avenue.
a whole
Who
lot
told the
to say.
I was gonna just say.
Okay, what I'm saying is that
Come on.
get yourself prepared. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I was just
We're-
going to say briefly, DeAndre, that I would like to know what year she was born in, because that does not look like 100 years old.
That's what I told her when I saw her.
Okay.
100 years old. That's why I want a picture. Okay. Come on into the space. Come on into the space.
Hello, my name is Charmaine Singleton, and I wanted to know, when we're talking about community and inclusion and getting ourselves prepared, and passing on the torch and training up others to follow our McKinleys and Kings and Rise, where is the starting point? Where are we pointing our younger generations? What resources are here for us to say, hey, this is what we can do now outside of speaking and talking and walking into the space of action?
Yeah, I'd like to respond to that. We started the Martin Luther King Celebration Committee in 1982, and it evolved in 2017. A younger group of people took that project over. They've been doing a fantastic job. And I think what they've done now is that they have an intern program. They're like in their 30s, early 40s maybe. And they started an intern program bringing younger people in, like my daughter Angela said a little while ago, the mentoring she's doing. So the best thing to do is to share the history with people that who have like minds. Everybody's not going to be concerned about the same thing. But you, in just conversing with people and watching the action of younger people, can pretty much tell you what their interest is, what motivates them, And so the most important thing is to share the history, talk about what you had to do to make changes. A lot of things have changed now. Like back in the day, we had to show up at Helen's Diner or at Mount Zion or somewhere to have the community meeting. Now we got social media. There's no excuse for folks not being organized because you have instantaneous communications. Boy, if we had that back in the day, no telling where we would be today. But right now, I would say the most important thing is to share your experience. Take time with younger people to explain to them what the issue is, how you resolve a certain situation, how you organize people. And like I said, I go back to the grassroots concept. Make sure you start with people in your neighborhood and your community and your family and work your way up. And then if you do belong to a religious institution, make sure you get in touch with the pastor or the person that are making decisions in that church to get those issues before them, because, you know, we're supposed to care about each other. And if you can't get it rolling in the church, I don't know what you're going to do. But the other thing is, if you see something, record it. And the thing about it is to share your experience with people on how you resolved the issue in the past and what they need to do to resolve the issue that's confronting them right now.
I think one thing that she asked though is what could we do beyond talking? And so I think to that end, one thing my dad mentioned earlier is like signing petitions. Yeah. We get away from the discipline that it takes for movements to really start. They are slow often. It begins with a letter that you're writing on an issue. It begins with showing up to a school board meeting or a city council meeting. Joy Hollingsworth, who's our city council president now, sent out a robust agenda of what they expect to cover over the next several city council meetings. It involves showing up. So sometimes it's not just about talking. It's like, did you come? Did you attend? Did you sign your name on this thing? Talking shouldn't be frowned upon because that's how we get educated about what issues are oppressing us or plaguing us in some way. So we shouldn't go past that. One other thing that is a pet peeve of mine, let me use this as an example. Daddy, can you think of how old you were in your first kind of activism moment? How old were you?
If you want to count the military, 18.
18. So let's just count the military 18. We spend a lot of time talking about what we need to tell young people to do. Maybe we should be listening to what young people think we can do to advise them, because now we're in positions to be elders and letting the young folks with the energy and the innovation and the ideas and the courage and the boldness to stand up to some of the things we're talking about. We should be instructional at this point. We should be talking, and we also should be doing a lot more listening. They're not confused. We're just not hearing them. They got a ton of ideas about ways to move the country forward, and it's on their shoulders. Dr. King was in his 30s when he was killed.
Yeah.
So let's be very clear about the very critical role the young people play in movement building. We should be advising them and on their teams, not always leading them.
So true. Thank you. As we get ready to come to a close, the last closing words, as you all think about the hope that we have for the future, what words do you have for our future besides what you literally just closed this out? But I do want to just ask, what gives you hope for what you see now happening? What gives you hope?
What gives me hope is that I see people standing up for injustices across this country. And it gives me hope to see that it's not confined to the communities of color, but to the broader community. Because what happened to the sister in Minnesota has been happening down the street with George Floyd. So a lot of people said it was a black issue. It's really a people issue. And you have to have justice for everyone, not for a select few. So I think that as tragic as that was, I think it really opened a lot of people's eyes to saying, hey, this is happening to everyone. We all need to be concerned. And so being a Christian, I'm concerned about every human being. That's why I've been involved in many multiracial issues. Like I mentioned earlier in 72 about us occupying Beacon Hill School, been vacant for 20 years. At that particular time, the Chicano community didn't have a home. Mm-hmm. Now, not only do they have a home, they have housing and doing a lot of positive things for folks. So I would say that the most important thing is that if you see something wrong, talk to your folks one person can start a movement. But the most important thing is make sure you get the people and talk to the people and get them on board. And you don't have to start from the top down. If you have enough at the grassroots level, the top will listen.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you.
I think the movement is a body. And if we imagine a body, that means that there's a part for all of us to play. So somebody might be the finger, somebody else might be the toe, somebody else might be the knee, somebody else might be the head, but you have a part to play in that body. If the movement is a body, figure out what your role is. It may not be the same in every single movement. It may not be the same on every single issue, but figure out what role you're playing, but know that you have a very critical part to play. And right now, our folks need you more than ever.
Well, community, what a conversation. Let's thank our panelists once again for being here with us. We appreciate